Time now for today's Focus Report. We head to Brazil, which has the highest proportion of mixed-race people in the world. 53% of Brazilians self-identify themselves as either black or mixed race, yet only 13% of 18 to 24-year-olds within this category are currently enrolled in a university programme. Well, in 2012, the government instigated quotas for universities. In the last few months, the system appears, though, to have stalled. Black student groups have denounced students they say are too white to benefit from this affirmative action policy. Our correspondents sent us this report.
Illustrating the diversity of the Brazilian people is not a difficult task. Families of mixed ethnic ancestries can be found all across the nation. In this Rio de Janeiro suburb, we meet with 19-year-old Mateus Muros, the son of a white mother and a black father. Passionate about political science, he highlighted his black ancestry to enter a prestigious public university through positive discrimination quotas, a policy set in place by former President Lula with the ambition of alleviating racial injustice. But first, Mateus had to prove his claim.
They asked me two main questions. The first one was, why do you consider yourself mixed race? And the second one was, did you suffer any type of discrimination? They also asked me if I wanted to provide evidence of my race. Some students brought certificates from their dermatologists based on the so-called Fitzpatrick scale of skin types.
In Brazil, racial identification is legal. It is used in official enrollment documents like this one.
As a Brazilian citizen, I strongly assert the fact that I self-identify as a person of mixed race. This is my ethnicity. That's my father right here.
His application was turned down by the quotas committee.
I've always been identified as mixed race of black origin. That's the way I've always seen myself. And all of a sudden, because a commission of 6 white people decided so, my black origins just vanished. This is why I decided to appeal.
He used photos of his family as proof, and in the end, his appeal was accepted. The committee's verdict, Mateus's phenotype, or physical traits, are indeed of black descent.
They based the decision on my physical appearance and by analyzing the physical appearance of my family members.
Defining strict boundaries between skin colors is quite difficult in a country where 53% of the population self-identify as black or mixed race, and where 30% of those who identify themselves as white have in fact black ancestors. Proving one's racial makeup might sound shocking to some, but in Mateus's university, it's a concept that's proactively defended. Here, 20% of new students enter thanks to this affirmative action policy.
Brazil's population is very mixed, so it's being called a racial democracy, as if we were all equal, but it's not true. Brazil is a very racist country.
This group of students, which claims to defend Afro-Brazilian culture, recently blew the whistle on what they denounced as people over-abusing the quota system.
For me, he does not have the physical appearance of a black person. He has no black phenotype. It's more like an Arab trait, whereas having a wide nose is more common amongst the black population.
Sorting out people by their skin tones, the size or shape of their nose, isn't this textbook racism? These students argue otherwise.
The police usually has no problem using phenotypes to identify suspects. The justice system also uses these physical criteria. So it shouldn't be a problem for us to use this discrimination too in order to get into universities, to move up the social ladder and gain success.
In the world's most racially mixed country, the scars of centuries of slavery, accusations of racism and reverse racism are all at the heart of a difficult nationwide debate. Appeasing these deep-rooted tensions, that's the order of the day for this university's Affirmative Action Committee.
Mas além do fenótipo, que outros critérios a gente pode ter num caso em que há dúvida? Bom dia, Rosiana.
We met with members of the Positive Discrimination Committee. They insist that analyzing phenotypes isn't the alpha and omega of their job, but we did have this question.
É uma obra de uma artista brasileira que fez isso. Em relação aos seus fenótipos, a gente vai chegar a esse tipo de seleção, como se fosse Pantone?
Well, I hope not. Yes, we take into account skin color, but the question of one's racial identity must always be put in context. It depends on social and economic factors. A neighborhood may be considered more or less black. That's why our university takes into account the socio-economic status of the student. Prospective students must complete a form stating their socio-economic background. This is an important criteria in our selection.
Por isso, você não acha que esses critérios fenótipos poderiam ser perigosos?
Isso pode servir para a Europa.
It could be in Europe, but not here. In Brazil, we can't reduce inequalities without taking into account the fact that this country lived with slavery for some 400 years. Some of the population has always been at the bottom of the social pyramid and denied their basic human rights.
Brazil is still struggling with acute social inequalities and widespread poverty. As many citizens remain socially and economically excluded, the vision of a society rid of racial prejudice remains a distant one.
Well, today's Focus report coming to us from our team on the ground in Brazil. To talk more about this, Lovett is a researcher at CNRS and also an associate professor at Sao Paulo University. Mr. Thierry, thanks for speaking to France 24. If over half of Brazilians identify as black or indeed mixed race, why are so few within certain categories being admitted to university?
I think there is a very strong mix of racial or skin color better inequalities and social inequalities. People who don't succeed in coming into university or better profession are the poor ones, who happens also to be black. But I think there's a very strong confusion between two themes. In fact, the law that were mentioned are principally made for permitting poor people to enter universities. Half of the places are reserved for people who have been through public schools, and public schools in Brazil are the poorest. So, in fact, the people who are asking or forcing or demanding on racial characteristics, in my view, doing something which is not quite in the spirit of the affirmative action being done at the moment.
I mean, we saw in that report the so-called quota committees. Have you experienced them, seen how they operate? What exactly are they looking for?
They are supposed to see if the declaration made by the people who apply through the quotas are based on fact or not. But in fact, it's quite irrelevant because most cases, in a huge majority of cases, the quota are not fulfilled. So there is no need to say if the people are or not. You may have heard that the reclamation are never made to see that people are not entitled to quotas. The people who ask for revision are the people who want to be considered as colored. So it's at the moment it's much ado about nothing.
So much ado about nothing. So in your opinion, are these quota committees useful on any level then? Are we barking up the wrong tree? Is this completely the wrong direction that we need to be looking into in terms of Brazil's universities?
I do think so. It's always the opinion of people who make the law at the federal level, and also the university when I'm teaching, I've just changed the rules in order to admit more poor people. And at admitting poor people with criteria which are indisputable, which are quite clear, have you been through public school or not, what is your income, is much, much clearer and fairer than looking at characteristic phenotypes which are completely, in good part, aleatory. I'm married to, my wife is Brazilian, and his two sisters are of different colors, same father, same mother. It's a kind of a lottery of colors. You have main ties, but also different. So I think it's very strange, to say the least, to use physical criteria to protest against discrimination using the proper tools you are fighting for. I do think, and many people think, that you have to concentrate on the social problem, which in Brazil is in fact huge. And the part on the skin colors, because there is no races, there is only one race, the human race, is, as you say, barking on the wrong tree.
OK. Hervé Thierry, a researcher at CNRS, thank you very much for speaking to France 24 today. All right, we're going to bring you some more international headlines very shortly. Do stay tuned. You're watching France 24.